The moment I received the email that I had won the contest to shadow Jake Hunter on the set of his latest action film, my heart raced with disbelief and excitement. I could hardly breathe as I read the words again, feeling a mix of thrill and anxiety. This was the chance I had dreamed about for years, to meet my favorite action star in person. Jake was not just a celebrity to me. He represented strength and charisma, qualities I admired deeply but felt I lacked. As a shy and introverted college student, I often found solace in the stories Jake brought to life on screen. His characters inspired me, making me believe that I could be brave and bold, even if I struggled to embody those traits myself. But now, the opportunity to be up close and personal with him filled me with a whirlwind of emotions: excitement, hope, and a lingering sense of self-doubt. What would I say? Would he think I was just another starstruck fan? The days leading up to the event felt like a blur. I spent hours planning my outfits, wanting to strike the perfect balance between casual and stylish. I envisioned how I would present myself, hoping to make a good impression. My mind raced with scenarios, each more daunting than the last. Would I embarrass myself? What if I said something stupid? The morning of the event arrived, and I stood in front of the mirror, scrutinizing my reflection. I had opted for a simple navy button-up shirt and dark jeans, hoping to come across as effortlessly cool. My hair was neatly styled, and I practiced my smile, trying to project confidence that I didn't quite feel. As I headed out the door, I took a deep breath, reminding myself that this was an opportunity of a lifetime. The drive to the studio lot was a surreal experience. The sun shone brightly, casting an optimistic glow over everything. But inside, I was a bundle of nerves. When I arrived at the studio, the atmosphere was electric. Crew members bustled about, setting up cameras and adjusting lights. I felt small amidst the chaos, but a production assistant quickly spotted me and led me through the maze of set pieces and actors. As we walked, I tried to absorb everything: the vibrant colors of the set design, the intensity of the crew's focus, and the unmistakable energy of the film industry. My heart pounded in my chest as we approached a large trailer. There he was, surrounded by a small group of people, his laughter ringing out like music. The production assistant knocked on the door and announced, "Jake, your fan is here." The door swung open, and there he stood, larger than life. Jake Hunter was just as handsome as I had imagined, with tousled hair and an easy smile that made my heart skip a beat. "Hey there, you must be Ben," he said, his voice warm and inviting. "Why yeah, that's me," I stammered, trying to sound casual as I stepped inside the trailer. It was cozy and filled with personal touches: posters, scripts, and a well-worn couch. Jake closed the door behind me, and I felt an overwhelming sense of awe. "Welcome to my world," he said, grinning as he gestured for me to take a seat. "What do you think?" "It's amazing," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. "I can't believe I'm actually here." Jake laughed, and it felt like a warm embrace. "Trust me, it's a wild ride, but I'm glad you're here. It's nice to take a break from all the chaos." We settled into conversation, and I found myself relaxing as Jake shared stories about his career and the filming process. He had a way of making everything feel easy and approachable, and I felt a connection growing between us. But as the day unfolded, I noticed a shift. The more we talked, the more I felt drawn to him. His charisma was intoxicating, and I caught myself stealing glances at his expressive eyes and charming smile. Each laugh we shared sent my heart racing, and I felt a thrill of attraction that I couldn't ignore. Yet, beneath the surface, my insecurities began to surface. Was I just another fan in his eyes? Did he see me as more than that? I tried to push those thoughts aside, but the tension was palpable, lingering in the air between us. During a break in filming, we stepped outside to grab some fresh air. The sun was beginning to set, casting a golden hue over the studio lot. As we walked, Jake suddenly stopped and turned to me, his expression serious. "Hey, can I ask you something?" "Sure," I replied, my heart pounding in my chest. "Why do you admire me so much?" he asked, his gaze searching mine. I hesitated, taken aback by the question. I think it's because you make me believe in something more. You portray characters that are brave and unapologetic. It inspires me." His expression softened, and I felt a spark of connection. "That means a lot to me, Ben. I always hope my work resonates with people." Just then, a crew member called for him, breaking the moment. I felt a pang of disappointment as he turned to walk away, but he glanced back at me, a playful smile on his lips. "Let's continue this conversation later." "Okay?" "Definitely," I replied, feeling both excited and anxious. As the filming resumed, I couldn't shake the feeling that something significant was brewing between us. The tension lingered, making every glance and shared laugh feel charged with possibility. But as the day wore on, the reality of Jake's world became more apparent. Fans started to gather outside the studio, eager to catch a glimpse of their idol. I watched as he switched effortlessly from charming actor to beloved star, signing autographs and posing for photos. While I admired his ability to connect with his fans, a pang of jealousy crept in. I wanted to be the one receiving his attention, the one he truly cared about. But as I stood back, I felt like just another face in the crowd, lost in the whirlwind of his fame. The day came to an end, and as the sun dipped below the horizon, Jake finally found a moment to come back to me. "Hey, wanna grab dinner? I'd love to get to know you better outside of all this." "Yes, I'd love that," I replied, my heart soaring. We headed to a cozy restaurant nearby, and as we settled into our seats, the tension began to dissipate. Over delicious food and laughter, we opened up about our lives, our dreams, and the challenges we faced. I felt more at ease with every passing moment, and I could see the genuine interest in Jake's eyes. But as we talked, I could also feel the weight of my feelings pressing down on me. The attraction I felt was undeniable, and I wondered if he felt it too. After dinner, we walked outside, the evening air cool and refreshing. As we strolled down the quiet street, the chemistry between us crackled with energy. At one point, Jake paused and turned to face me, his expression serious. "Ben, I want to be honest with you." My heart raced, a mixture of excitement and apprehension swirling within me. "What is it?" "I feel a connection with you that I can't ignore, but I want to make sure we're both on the same page before this goes any further." His words sent a jolt through me, and I took a deep breath. "I feel it too, Jake. I really like you, but I'm scared. This world seems so complicated." He nodded, his eyes sincere. "It is complicated, but I want to explore this with you. I just need to be upfront about the challenges we'll face." As he spoke, I felt a surge of hope. This was the moment I had been waiting for, the opportunity to step into the unknown. "Let's take it one day at a time," I said, my voice steady. "Agreed," he replied, a smile breaking across his face. In that moment, the air between us felt electric. I could see the possibility of something real, something that transcended the barriers of fame and admiration. As we continued to walk, the tension shifted into something more profound, a shared understanding that we were both ready to embrace whatever came next. The evening ended with a lingering hug, a promise of what was to come. As I drove home, I felt a mix of excitement and fear. This was just the beginning, and I was ready to navigate the complexities of a relationship with my idol. With each passing moment, I felt more confident in my feelings, ready to explore the path ahead. And as I lay in bed that night, I couldn't shake the thrill of what the future held. This was the start of something beautiful, and I was eager to see where it would lead us. The days following my dinner with Jake were a whirlwind of emotions. Each day felt like a roller coaster ride, with peaks of exhilaration and valleys of doubt. I couldn't stop thinking about him, the way he looked at me, how he laughed, and the connection we had shared. As I went through my routine, my mind constantly drifted back to our conversations, replaying every moment and dissecting every word. Jake had promised to keep in touch, and I waited eagerly for his messages. The anticipation was both thrilling and nerve-wracking. Each time my phone buzzed, my heart raced, hoping it was him. Finally, 3 days later, I received a text. "Hey, Ben, how about grabbing lunch tomorrow? I'd love to see you again." My excitement bubbled over as I quickly typed back, "Yes, I can't wait. The next day, I arrived at our chosen cafe early, my heart pounding with anticipation. I wanted everything to be perfect. I had chosen a simple but stylish outfit, a fitted shirt and dark jeans, trying to strike the right balance between casual and polished. When Jake walked in, I felt the world around me fade. He looked effortlessly handsome, dressed in a casual t-shirt and jeans that accentuated his physique. "Hey, sorry, I'm a bit late," he said with a bright smile as he approached me. "Traffic was crazy. No waities. I just got here," I replied, trying to keep my cool. As we settled into our seats, I felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. I had so many questions swirling in my mind. Would we talk about our feelings? Would this be a date? As we browsed the menu, I tried to focus on the food rather than the tension building in the air. Jake ordered a burger while I opted for a salad, and we engaged in light banter about our favorite foods and movies. I felt myself relax as we laughed, the chemistry between us palpable. But as our conversation progressed, I felt the urge to address the elephant in the room. "Jake," I began hesitantly. "About the other night." He looked up, his expression attentive. "Yeah, I really liked our kiss. It felt special." A small smile tugged at his lips, and I felt a rush of warmth. "Me too. I've thought about it a lot since." "Then what does that mean for us?" I asked, my heart pounding. He leaned back in his chair, contemplating my question. "I think we have something real, but I want to be careful. My life is chaotic, and I don't want to drag you into it without being upfront about the challenges." I nodded, feeling the weight of his words. "I understand, but I want to try, even if it's complicated." The sincerity in his eyes made my heart race. "I want to try too," he said, his voice steady. Our lunch continued with a mix of laughter and meaningful conversations, the tension between us transforming into something hopeful. As we finished our meal, I felt a renewed sense of connection, but I also sensed the undercurrent of uncertainty that still lingered. After lunch, we decided to take a stroll through a nearby park. The sun shone brightly, and the vibrant colors of the flowers and trees created a beautiful backdrop. We walked side by side, the atmosphere feeling comfortable yet charged. "I love this park," Jake said, glancing around. "It's one of my favorite places to escape." "Really? It's beautiful," I replied, feeling a sense of peace wash over me. As we walked, our fingers brushed against each other, and I felt a jolt of electricity at the contact. Jake glanced at me, his expression softening. "I'm really glad you're here, Ben." "Me too," I replied, my heart racing. But as we continued to walk, I couldn't shake the nagging feeling that the world outside our bubble was looming closer. The pressures of Jake's fame were always present, and I felt a flicker of anxiety at the thought of being in the spotlight. Eventually, we reached a quiet spot by a small pond, the water reflecting the clear blue sky. We settled onto a bench, and the moment felt intimate, the air thick with unspoken words. "I want to ask you something," Jake said, his voice low. "Sure. Anything. Are you ready for this? Being with someone in my position? The media scrutiny, the fans. It's a lot." I took a deep breath, contemplating his question. "I think I am. I want to be with you, Jake. But I also need to know what I'm getting into." He nodded, his gaze serious. "That's fair. I want to be honest with you. My life is complicated, and I don't want to put you in a position where you feel overwhelmed." "I appreciate that," I said, feeling a mix of admiration and apprehension. "But I can handle it. I want to support you, and I hope you'll let me." "I will," he replied, a smile breaking through the seriousness. "I want us to be a team, but we have to navigate this carefully." As the conversation continued, I felt a sense of clarity. We were both aware of the challenges, but there was also an undeniable connection pulling us closer. The moment felt significant, a promise of what lay ahead. As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the park, I felt a sense of hope blooming within me. I had taken a step towards something real, something worth fighting for. After our time at the park, we returned to Jake's car, and he turned to me, his expression earnest. "Can I take you somewhere special?" Absolutely, I replied, intrigued. He drove us to a secluded spot overlooking the city. As we stepped out of the car, the view took my breath away. The skyline sparkled against the backdrop of the setting sun, and I felt a rush of exhilaration. "This is my little escape," Jake said, standing beside me. "It's incredible," I replied, feeling the warmth of the moment. We stood there in silence for a moment, the beauty of the scene amplifying the connection between us. Then Jake turned to me, his expression softening. "I want you to know that I really like you, Ben." My heart soared at his words. "I like you too, Jake. More than I ever expected." He leaned in closer, and before I knew it, our lips met again in a tender kiss. The world around us faded, and all that mattered was the connection we shared. As we pulled away, I felt a surge of emotion. "This feels right," I whispered. "It does," he replied, his gaze filled with warmth. We spent the rest of the evening talking and enjoying each other's company, the weight of our earlier conversation lingering in the air. But as the night wore on, I couldn't help but feel the pressures of our worlds creeping back in. I wanted to enjoy this moment, but the reality of Jake's fame loomed over us like a shadow. As we drove back to my apartment, I felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. I knew we had taken a significant step, but the road ahead was uncertain. When we reached my place, I turned to Jake, my heart racing. "I'm really glad we talked today." "Me too. I feel like we're starting to build something special." We exchanged lingering glances, the air thick with unspoken words. "Can I see you tomorrow?" Jake asked, his expression hopeful. "Of course. I'd love that." As he leaned in to kiss me goodbye, I felt a thrill of anticipation. The kiss was sweet and filled with promise, leaving me wanting more. After he left, I stood in my doorway, feeling a rush of emotions. I was falling for him, and the thought filled me with both excitement and fear. The next day felt like an eternity as I waited for Jake's message. When my phone buzzed with a text, my heart raced. "Hey, wanna meet up later? I've got something special planned." "Absolutely. What time?" I replied, excitement bubbling within me. "Let's say 5 p.m.? I can pick you up." As the day passed, I found it hard to focus on anything else. My mind was filled with thoughts of Jake and the possibilities that lay ahead. When 5 p.m. finally arrived, I felt a thrill of anticipation wash over me. I dressed carefully, wanting to look my best for him. When Jake arrived, he looked even more handsome than I remembered, his smile brightening the evening. "You look amazing." "Thanks. So do you," I replied, feeling butterflies in my stomach. He took my hand as we walked to his car, and I felt the warmth of his touch send a shiver down my spine. As we drove, I felt a sense of excitement building. "So, what do you have planned?" "You'll see," he said, his eyes sparkling with mischief. We drove through the city, the sun beginning to set, casting a warm glow. Finally, we arrived at a quaint little restaurant tucked away from the busy streets. "This place is amazing," I said, glancing at the charming exterior. "I thought you'd like it. They have great food," Jake replied, his enthusiasm infectious. We stepped inside, and I felt a cozy atmosphere envelop us. The dim lighting and soft music set the perfect mood. As we settled into our seats, I felt a sense of contentment wash over me. The connection between us was palpable, and I couldn't wait to see where the evening would lead. We ordered our food and continued to share stories, laughter flowing easily between us. But as the night wore on, I couldn't shake the feeling that the pressure of Jake's fame was looming in the background. After dinner, we walked outside, and the night air was cool and refreshing. "I've had such a great time," I said, glancing at him. "Me too. I love spending time with you, Ben," he replied, his eyes sincere. Just then, a group of fans approached, recognizing Jake. I watched as he shifted back into his public persona, smiling and signing autographs. While I admired his ability to connect with them, a pang of jealousy crept in. I wanted to be the one receiving his attention, the one he truly cared about. After a few minutes, Jake finally broke away, returning to my side. "Sorry about that," he said, his expression apologetic. It's okay. I understand, I replied, trying to hide my disappointment. But as we walked away, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was just another part of his world, another fan in the background. The night ended with a quiet moment, our hands intertwined as we walked back to the car. I really like this, Jake said softly, glancing at me. Me too, I replied, feeling a surge of hope. As he leaned in for another kiss, I felt a thrill of excitement. In that moment, I knew we were building something special, despite the challenges that lay ahead. With each passing day, I felt more confident in my feelings for Jake, ready to explore the path ahead. And as I lay in bed that night, I couldn't help but smile, dreaming of the future we would create together. The following week felt like a whirlwind. Jake and I had fallen into a comfortable routine, filled with late-night texts, laughter, and an undeniable chemistry that deepened with each passing day. But beneath the surface, I could feel the tension building. The excitement of our budding romance was tempered by the reality of Jake's life as a star. I often found myself grappling with insecurities, questioning if I truly belonged in his world. As the weekend approached, I couldn't shake the feeling that something significant was on the horizon. I had spent the week daydreaming about Jake and replaying our moments together in my mind. The anticipation was exhilarating, but it also made me anxious. Would we take our relationship to the next level? Or would the pressures of fame pull us apart? On Friday afternoon, I received a text from Jake. Hey, want to come to the set tomorrow? I have a few scenes to shoot, and I'd love for you to be there. My heart raced at the invitation. Yes, I'd love that, I replied, excitement bubbling within me. The next morning, I stood in front of the mirror, trying to quell the butterflies in my stomach. I opted for a casual but stylish outfit, a fitted shirt and jeans that made me feel confident. As I drove to the studio, my mind raced with thoughts about what the day would hold. When I arrived, the studio lot was bustling with activity. Crew members rushed around, and the energy was electric. I felt a surge of excitement as I spotted Jake, deep in conversation with the director. He looked incredible, his focus unwavering as he discussed the upcoming scenes. I watched him from a distance, feeling a mix of admiration and nervousness. Would he notice me? Would I be able to keep my cool? After a few moments, Jake caught my eye and smiled, a bright and genuine expression that made my heart skip a beat. Hey, Ben, he called out, waving me over. I walked toward him, feeling a rush of warmth at his greeting. I'm glad you could make it, he said, pulling me into a quick hug. Thanks for having me. I can't believe I'm actually here, I replied, trying to sound casual. Welcome to my chaotic world, he said with a grin. As the crew set up for the first scene, Jake introduced me to some of his co-stars. They were friendly and welcoming, but I felt like an outsider, standing in the shadow of their fame. I tried to push those feelings aside, reminding myself that I was here to support Jake and enjoy the day. The first scene involved a high-octane action sequence, and I watched in awe as Jake transformed into his character. He moved with such grace and intensity, embodying the hero he was known for. I couldn't help but admire the dedication he poured into his work. Between takes, Jake would sneak glances my way, and I felt a thrill each time our eyes met. There was an unspoken connection, a promise that we were still very much in this together, even amidst the chaos of filming. As the day progressed, I found myself getting lost in the experience. The energy on set was contagious, and I felt a sense of pride watching Jake perform. But with each scene, I could feel the weight of reality pressing down. During a break, we found a moment alone, and I took the opportunity to voice my thoughts. You're incredible out there, Jake. It's amazing to see you in your element. Thanks, Ben, he replied, his smile genuine. I love what I do, but sometimes it can feel isolating. His words resonated with me, and I couldn't help but feel a surge of empathy. I can imagine. It must be tough balancing everything. It is. I want to connect with people, but it's hard when everyone sees you as just a celebrity. I felt the tension building again, the reality of his fame creating a barrier between us. I'm here for you, you know? I want to support you through all of this. Jake looked at me, his expression serious. That means a lot to me, Ben. I want you to know that I really like you, and I don't want to lose what we have. I feel the same way, I admitted, my heart racing. Just then, a crew member called Jake back to set, and I felt a pang of disappointment as he walked away. But I reminded myself that this was part of his life, and I was lucky to be a part of it, even for a little while. As the day came to a close, I felt a mixture of emotions swirling within me. I had experienced so much, but I couldn't shake the nagging feeling that our worlds were still too different. After filming wrapped for the day, Jake and I headed out to grab dinner. We chose a cozy little restaurant that served comfort food, and as we settled into our booth, I felt a sense of ease wash over me. This is nice, I said, glancing around the warmly lit space. It is. Just us, no cameras, no pressure, Jake replied, his smile infectious. As we enjoyed our meal, the conversation flowed easily, filled with laughter and shared stories. I felt grateful for this time together, but the weight of our situation lingered in the back of my mind. Jake, I began hesitantly. Do you think we can make this work? With everything going on, he paused, his expression thoughtful. I want to believe we can. I care about you, and I want to explore this connection. But I also need to be honest about my fears. What are you afraid of? I asked, my heart pounding. I'm afraid of losing you in all this chaos, he said softly. I don't want to be just another fan or a passing fling, he continued, his gaze steady. You won't be, I assured him, my voice filled with conviction. I want this, Jake. I want us. As the night wore on, we delved into deeper conversations about our hopes and dreams. The more we shared, the more I felt the barriers between us beginning to dissolve. But just as I felt the moment shifting, a group of fans entered the restaurant, their excited chatter breaking the intimacy of our conversation. I watched as they spotted Jake, their eyes lighting up with recognition. Jake sighed, glancing at me apologetically. I'll be right back, he said, standing up to greet them. As he walked away, I felt a wave of disappointment wash over me. I understood that this was part of his life, but the feeling of being overshadowed by his fame was difficult to shake. While he interacted with the fans, I couldn't help but feel like an outsider looking in. I admired his kindness and how he took the time to connect with them, but a part of me wished for just a few more moments alone with him. When he returned to the table, I tried to mask my feelings with a smile. You're quite the celebrity, huh? He chuckled, a hint of sheepishness in his tone. I guess so, but I'm just a guy who loves to act. We resumed our dinner, but I could sense the tension lingering. After we finished eating, Jake paid the bill, and as we stepped outside, the cool night air wrapped around us. Thanks for dinner, I said, trying to keep the mood light. Anytime, he replied, his expression earnest. As we walked to his car, the weight of our earlier conversation hung in the air. Do you want to go somewhere quieter? He suggested, glancing at me. Sure, I replied, intrigued. He drove us to a nearby park, the streetlights casting a warm glow over the path. When we arrived, we stepped out of the car and walked toward a small pond surrounded by trees. The atmosphere felt serene, and I could hear the gentle rustling of leaves. This place is beautiful, I said, glancing around. It's my favorite spot to escape, Jake replied, his eyes scanning the area. We settled onto a bench, and I felt a sense of peace wash over me. The world outside felt far away, and it was just us in this moment. Ben, Jake said, breaking the silence. I want to be honest about something. My heart raced as I met his gaze. What is it? I really like you. This connection we have is special, and I don't want to take it for granted, he said, his voice sincere. I feel the same way, Jake, but I'm scared. I don't want to lose you to the chaos of your life, I admitted, my voice trembling. He took my hand in his, and the warmth of his touch sent shivers down my spine. We can figure this out together, I promise. As we sat there, I felt the tension dissipate, replaced by a sense of hope. I want to make this work, I said, my voice steady. Me too, Jake replied, his smile brightening the night. As the stars twinkled above us, I felt a rush of excitement. This was the moment I had been waiting for. An opportunity to build something real with the person I admired most. We shared stories, dreams, and laughter, allowing the connection between us to grow. But as the night wore on, I could sense the challenges ahead. Jake's fame was a constant reminder of the world we inhabited, and I wondered how we would navigate it. When it was time to leave, Jake leaned in for a kiss, and the world around us faded away. The kiss was sweet and filled with promise, a reminder of the bond we were forging. As we pulled away, I felt a sense of contentment wash over me. I'm really glad we talked tonight. Me too. I feel like we're starting to build something special, he said, his eyes warm with affection. We drove back to my apartment, and as we arrived, I felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. Would we really be able to make this work? As I said goodnight, I felt a flutter of anticipation in my chest. The journey ahead was filled with uncertainty, but I was ready to embrace it. With Jake by my side, I felt stronger than ever, ready to navigate whatever challenges lay ahead. And as I lay in bed that night, I couldn't help but smile, dreaming of the future we would create together.